What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be looking at a tier list of the original Modern Warfare 2 maps that we're going to be seeing at launch for Modern Warfare 3, and this is something that was recommended by a few of my viewers actually. I've seen this pop up a few times now, and I thought it would make for a fun and interesting video, so let's dive right into this. Keep in mind, I am going to be judging these maps based on my experience with them in the original Modern Warfare 2. I bet some of these will change in tiers as we play through Modern Warfare 3, largely just due to the spawn system, but other gameplay mechanics as well could potentially change how these maps end up playing. In either case, let's start it off with Afghan, and Afghan holds a special place in my heart. This is the map that I dropped my very first nuke in Call of Duty history in, so I actually am going to put this at the A tier. I was thinking more like it's probably objectively more of a B tier map, but since it holds that special place in my heart due to the fact that I dropped my first nuke, I'll never forget that. It's a A-tier map for me. And I guess that's another thing I should have mentioned at the beginning. This is going to be a highly subjective list, and it's totally fine if you disagree. I'd love to hear what your guys' tiers are as well. And let's move on to Derail. And I'm going to share the popular opinion here. It seems to be the popular opinion. I think Derail is probably the worst map in Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2. Now, if it were a ground war map, like the original style of ground war, like 9v9, 10v10, I think it's definitely bumped up a little bit more in the list. But I think just the way that it flows combined with the size of it, it just doesn't tend to play super well with 6v6. And it was a map that I would often avoid back in the day. Next, we have Estate, and I don't dislike Estate as much as Derail, but it's also pretty low on my list. So I'm going to put Estate as a D tier map. Yeah, just it's okay. I don't mind playing it from time to time, but it's not great by any means, and there's a lot of other maps I'd much rather play over Estate. Then we've got Favela, and I know some people would put this as an S tier. For me, I like Favela. I don't think it's amazing though, so I'm gonna put it right up there with Afghan as an A tier map. It's very good. I enjoy Favela, but it's not quite like amazing to me, at least. Speaking of amazing though, we've got High Rise. This is one of my favorite Call of Duty maps in the entire franchise, and I've been playing for I think over 20 years now, or around 20 years. We just hit the 20-year mark for Call of Duty. This is one of my all-time favorite maps in the franchise, so absolutely S tier, no question about it for me. Then we've got Invasion, and I like Invasion. I don't love Invasion. It's one of those maps where I never had a problem with it popping up in rotation. I was always happy enough to play it, but it was also something that I was never like overly excited to play when it would pop up. It was just like, okay, let's do this. Let's play a game. And I think that fits nicely into the B tier where it's not bad, not amazing. It's just a decent enough map. Karachi's actually a similar story. I would put that in the same tier here. Same sort of idea. I never got super excited to play Karachi, but I also never minded playing Karachi. It's a decent enough map. Lots of power positions on that map, but they were predictable power positions, and oftentimes they had multiple points of entry, and I'm very curious to see what they do in Modern Warfare 3 with jump spots. I have a feeling we're going to have some interesting jump spots, especially on a map like Karachi, so we'll have to wait and see on that one, but I would put that as a B tier map. Then after that, let's get into Quarry, and I think I'm going to put Quarry as an A tier map. I like it a bit more than Invasion and Karachi. I don't think it's an S tier map though. I think it's just an A tier map. I really enjoy the controlled verticality that we had on that. Like there was a lot of verticality, but it was reasonably predictable. And also if you were utilizing verticality, especially in the middle of the map area, there wasn't much cover for you to use. So I think they balanced that verticality quite nicely. They also had like the high point power positions where the snipers would go. That took some risk to get up there. You're pretty exposed getting up to the ladder. And I felt like it just offered a wide variety of playstyles as well. Like you could use shotguns in this map just fine. You could also snipe on this map just fine, and everything in between. Next, we have Rundown. And I feel like Rundown's a relatively polarizing map. I've seen a lot of people despise Rundown and other people love Rundown. I'm kind of in the middle with the map. In Modern Warfare 2, at least, the original Modern Warfare 2, I would put this as a B tier map. I didn't mind it. I actually quite liked it. I generally played quite well on it. But I will say, out of all of the maps in this list, this is the one big standout where I am really worried to see what the Modern Warfare 3 spawns do to this map. Because this map is so large, and there's so much spawn relief on this map. If they make it so we have a similar spawn system to what we were seeing in the Modern Warfare 3 beta, and if like one person crosses that like 2/3 mark, for instance, on the map, if that causes a spawn flip, this map is going to play like crap. This is going to be a terrible map if the spawns end up working that way. I think there's so much spawn relief on Rundown. One of the great things about it back in Modern Warfare 2 was the fact that we had those really sticky spawns, so you could get 1 or 2 players pushing right up into that side of the map where the enemy team is spawning without really being an immediate threat to their spawn locations, or at least all of their potential spawn locations. They could move around a little bit while still maintaining that spawn on that side of the map. And that made it play much better than I think it's going to end up playing in Modern Warfare 3. I'm very worried this is going to fall far down to a D or F tier map if the spawns aren't handled well on Rundown specifically. After that, though, we have Rust. And I know a lot of people love Rust, and a lot of people love tiny maps. I'm not a big fan of tiny maps. I hate Rust when it comes to 6v6. It is definitely not my preferred map, and I hope they go the route of Shipment where it just doesn't pop up in 6v6, like regular 6v6 rotation, and instead has its own like 24/7 playlist. In saying that, though, it might sound like I hate Rust like completely. I don't. I think Rust is actually the best 1v1 map in the entire franchise. I think it is so good for 1v1s. It's also great for gunfight. Like 2v2s played really well in Modern Warfare 3. And I think even 3v3 would play well on Rust. But anything more than that, it's just uncontrolled chaos with crazy, ridiculous spawn situations. I don't like Rust. I'm not a big fan of it. But since it is the best 1v1 map in franchise history, I'm going to put it as a C tier. I just hope they keep it out of regular rotation. After that, we have Scrapyard, and I love Scrapyard. I think Scrapyard is like the perfect small map for Call of Duty. It's just big enough that there's room for some thought and some big picture thinking and controlling the map a little bit, but small enough that it's like a constant action where if you want to fight, you can get a fight almost instantly. And as a result, I'm actually going to put that as an S tier map. This is one of my favorite small but not tiny maps in Call of Duty history. After that, we've got Skid Row, and I've never been a big fan of Skid Row. I know we had access to it in the beta, and out of the beta maps, it wasn't that bad, but I'm going to put it right in there with Rust, where I would generally not be voting for Skid Row unless it came up against something that was like lower on my list, like Estate or Derail, for instance. And I wouldn't say that I despise Skid Row, but I would just much rather be playing many of the other maps in the game, and that's why I think I'd put it at a C tier. Next, we have Subbase, and I like Subbase. I don't love Subbase. I think this is well suited to the B tier as well, where I never had a problem with Subbase popping up. I would never be disappointed in Subbase popping up, but at the same time, I generally wasn't like actively voting for it if it was coming up against an S or an A tier map. So yeah, B tier is a good spot for Subbase. I'm curious to see what they do with swimming. In the multiplayer trailer, there were some sections that were showing off swimming on Subbase, so I'm curious to see just how much swimming is going to change things with Modern Warfare 3. But that is a B tier map for me from Modern Warfare 2. Then we've got Terminal, and Terminal's an S tier map. I love Terminal. Nice clean lines, great brightness and vibrancy on it, really clearly defined power positions with decent enough counterplay to it. I just really like the map overall. And while I'm not as excited for Terminal as like High Rise, for instance, I think that's just due to the fact that we've seen Terminal remastered several times throughout the years already. So yeah, very excited for it, but I also feel like it wasn't super long ago that we had access to playing on Terminal. Next, we've got Underpass, and I think Underpass goes right alongside Estate here. I don't think it's as bad as Derail. I'd rather play Underpass over Derail, but I also didn't really like this map, and I do think it was one of the lower tier maps in the game. And for launch maps, at least, and the maps that we're going to be seeing at launch with Modern Warfare 3, we've got Wasteland. And the thing about Wasteland, objectively speaking, if we're looking at it objectively, I'd say Wasteland's probably more like an S tier map. In saying that, though, I really like the change of pace that Wasteland brings to the game. And it's just something that plays so different from all of the other maps in the game that I enjoy running into Wasteland every once in a while. It's fun every once in a while to just go out and do nothing but snipe on this like crazy long range open map, or use like an LMG with a thermal sight, for instance. That's not something I would normally do on any of the other maps, but just for a change of pace, Wasteland is excellent for that. And that's why I'm going to put it as a D tier. I still don't think it's a great map. I still don't like Wasteland a whole lot, but I really don't mind when it pops up from time to time, just as like a palate cleanser, basically, in between playing all of the better maps in the game. So there we go. That is my tier list. Again, this is based on how I experienced these maps back in the original Modern Warfare 2. I am absolutely terrified about the spawn system and how it's going to affect my impressions of these maps. I definitely think some of these maps could play so much worse if the spawns are flipping around like crazy, rather than being much more static like we saw in the original Modern Warfare 2. In saying that, I don't think that applies to all of these maps. I think some of them will play well regardless of how the spawn system is, at least to some degree, as long as they're reasonable. But overall, I am excited to see these Modern Warfare 2 maps come back. I'm definitely feeling the nostalgia for a lot of them, especially going through this list and just talking about what I liked and disliked about them. I'm definitely feeling like, man, I really can't wait to get my hands on that. And I'm very curious to see like new jump spots and stuff as well. I hope they bring in some nice new jump spots in certain areas that just change how you approach the maps to some degree without completely changing how the map flows, if that makes sense. But in either case, that is going to wrap it up for my personal tier list of these maps, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this in those comments down below. Are there any with these that you completely disagree with and you would move like more than one tier away? Or are these generally on point with how you would rank the maps as well? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.